a little something to take your mind off the fact that the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl, looking for 3 in a row. It's Chiefs-Eagles again. Trade talks, looking at the future of the Buffalo Bills. I'm Kevin Carroll. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone podcast, along with Andy Young. And a pleasant change of pace this week. When we first talked about looking ahead to the Super Bowl, I had no desire to do it, Andy, but the NFL never stops, and there's always not just the two teams in the Super Bowl in the news, always something brewing, and this one, many want at the end of the day to involve the Buffalo Bills.
Is it big baller bean season, right?
Time to find out.
Big game hunting.
Right.
Yeah. Myles Garrett requests a trade from the Cleveland Browns. The sack artist, a former defensive player of the year, double-digit sacks for 7 years in a row, wants out of Cleveland, wants to go to a winner. 29 years old. Should the Bills make a play to try to get Myles Garrett?
That 29 years old, Andy, to me, that's young enough. I mean, we always talk about players hitting that 30 mark at different positions, or 31, 32, 33. But Myles Garrett's still right in his wheelhouse right now. Wants to be on a winner. Wants to win a Super Bowl. Doesn't care about what was the saying from Cleveland to Canton. That's not all he's in the NFL for, and a lot of players are like that. And, you know, I mean, I think this goes with anybody in any line of work. If you want a better opportunity to be more successful, sitting there and just being happy just to be there, I don't think that is the kind of drive most of these NFL players, if not all of them, have to just get a check and be good and play.
Pretty strong argument for this guy to have been the best player in the NFL defensively over the last stretch. You can talk about Aaron Donald. He's since retired. TJ Watt has been very good as well. But Myles Garrett has been an absolute impact stud defensive end edge rusher over the course of his career. 29 years old, and a lot of people are going to talk about Von Miller and the Bills taking a big swing to sign Von Miller as a free agent. But there's a big difference here. Von Miller was 32, 33 years old when the Bills did that.
And by the way,
Myles Garrett's 29. That's the prime of your career.
Right. And by the way, Von Miller was very effective that first year before that injury. It looked like the Bills got what they needed out of Miller. And again, he's a lot older than Myles Garrett. And, I mean, Myles Garrett, since he's come into the league, has done nothing but torched offensive lines and able to get to the quarterback.
So I'll think about a couple of things that were said last week during Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane's end-of-season news conferences with the media. Sean McDermott talked about difference makers. Who are guys who make a difference on the field that are game changers defensively, that are game wreckers, or guys that are ball hawks, or that other teams have to scheme around? He said you need 2 to 3 of those on each side of the ball. And we wondered if the Bills even had one. Like, we know Josh Allen.
Right.
Maybe James Cook. We talked about Benford and Bernard, some of these guys. You hope that Greg Rousseau gets there, but in year 5, I think he's a very good player. When he's on, he's great, but it's just not quite enough, right? He's not a game wrecker type player. He can be in flashes, but it's just not quite consistent enough. Ed Oliver, same kind of deal, right? You wouldn't say anybody right now at wide receiver for the Bills.
No.
And then Brandon Beane was asked about, all right, what about the need to get a Chris Jones type? The Chiefs' star defensive tackle who just destroys games constantly. And Brandon Beane said, look, those guys don't grow on trees. You'd love to get one if you have one, but where we do pick in the draft and our salary cap, those guys don't come available very often. There's only a handful of those guys in the league. They don't become available. This guy kind of fits the bill for what you're looking for, but it depends on how you look at this. So, like, when they went all in for Von Miller, it was a free agent signing, and they gave him a huge contract, but you didn't have to sink draft picks into that too. If you have to trade a couple of first-round picks, a player, more late-round picks and then some to get your hands on Myles Garrett, that's a whole different equation, because then you're saying pick 30 this year, pick 28, we'll say next year if they're roughly the same type of team. Is that worth it to you to not have those to replenish other areas of your team and take on the contract and possibly rework his deal to keep him here longer? That's a whole different cost-benefit analysis. To me, if you're talking about, hey, the Bills think they're 1 or 2 plays away, but then in the same breath they'll say you're never 1 player away. Well, how about if that 1 player makes those 1 or 2 plays?
Exactly.
He sacks Patrick Mahomes in a big spot.
We looked at it
whatever it is.
The season in the playoffs, that they were always almost to the quarterback,
right,
but never getting there.
Right, and that Milano had a sack. Jordan Phillips made a big play. Like, there were a few times where they made those plays, but it's just never consistent enough in the playoffs. How often has this Bills defense, and we can talk about Josh Allen having the ball in the last couple of minutes to try to go win the game, the Bills' defense has been historically bad at giving up points in the playoffs. Like over 30 points a game in the playoffs. Cut that down to 25. You're
right.
you've probably won a Super Bowl or 2 at this point. If you're the Buffalo Bills.
Absolutely.
I mean, does Myles Garrett equate that? Maybe in a 1-game situation, yeah. I mean, you talk about like EPA per play and wins over replacement and all that stuff. I mean, a defensive end is massive, but it's nowhere near the effect of a quarterback, but the ability to affect a quarterback is huge. Now, can Myles Garrett be counted on for 4 more seasons to be in his prime? You'd hope so, but you don't know. Obviously, there's a risk in that
right.
he gets hurt or that he's on the downside of his career quickly, whatever that is. But there's also a risk in sitting and picking at number 30 or trading up to get a guy you think may or may not be a 22-year-old star in the future. They've done that. The defensive line, they have over and over again tried to pour resources in and have never seemed to fully get it right to where they're a constant game-wrecking unit. And you need that when you play the style of defense that the Bills play, where they want to just rush 4 and sit back in that too-high shell and play nickel. Well, you need those front 4 to do something and to be great. So if you're 1 player away, if you bring back your same squad and you add Myles Garrett and you trade him out for Russo or for Epinesa, I think you're like, it's the same kind of feeling we talked about when they got Von Miller. And that was going really well. And then he got hurt.
So let's just say we're in agreement that the Bills need to go get this guy.
At least explore it pretty hard, yes.
Myles Garrett wants out because he wants to be on a winner. Bills are picking 30th, right?
Yes.
There are other teams obviously in front of them, like your Baltimores, but you don't see Cleveland swinging a deal with Baltimore. Or do you? I don't. I wouldn't see that.
Bills have been trading with the Chiefs.
That's true. Valid point. But so it's interesting. I mean, Garrett obviously is not going to go to a team that's rebuilding or a team that's on the edge. He wants to be dealt to a team with a chance to win the Super Bowl. Bills have that criteria. Bills have the need for that position. I said this about wide receiver last year. You're in a certain, I'm not saying the window's closing on the Bill. I'm not saying that by any means, but you're in Josh Allen's part of his career where you should be at least at or getting to a Super Bowl by next year at this point. So you should do whatever it takes.
You should try, because you're still going to have the Chiefs in your way with Patrick Mahomes, who's basically the same age as Josh Allen.
Right.
So you have to get over that hump. What is it going to take to beat that team?
And that's where we're at right now.
That's the ultimate part of it.
Having a bunch of pieces isn't doing it.
And how often have we talked about the Bills are a really good collection as a team, but they have very few stars. Who is thought of in NFL circles as a star? I mean, all you have to look at is the Pro Bowl voting, the All-Pro voting. They're disrespected constantly because those guys truly aren't next-level stars.
Right.
Myles Garrett is a star. Josh Allen is a star. Diggs was a star. I think James Cook is ascending into star, but running back's kind of a different animal altogether.
Right.
What's the value of that position? I think, and in Sean McDermott saying that in his philosophy, in his research, that teams need 2 to 3 difference makers on each side of the ball was a hint that maybe they need more of those guys. Well, how do you get them? Well, it's hard to get them at pick 30. You got to get lucky. It's hard to get them in the second round. I think Chris Jones was a second-round pick, but those guys don't hit that often. So to me, I'm interested in taking those picks and trading for a known commodity, a guy who, if he keeps up what he's done, he hasn't shown any signs of falling off, that you're going to get a game wrecker.
Not unlike they did with Diggs. We all remember.
He was younger.
When they got Diggs, though, it was, well, no, Stephon Diggs is our first-round pick. That's why we did what we did. We wanted a proven person to come in here where Josh Allen was in his development to come in, a number one guy, and with the draft coming up, how could you not prefer Myles Garrett, a known sack getter, a known game wrecker, over the 30th pick, basically a second-round pick?
So the Bills' career sack leader, everyone knows, is Bruce Smith. Next up after that,
Aaron Schobel.
Aaron Schobel.
You told me that earlier.
Right. He has 78 career sacks, Schobel. Bruce Smith, 171 with the Bills. Most ever. It's almost a 100 sack difference between 1 and 2. Myles Garrett has 102.5 for his career. And here are his sacks since coming into the league in 2017. Year older than Josh Allen. No one's saying Josh Allen's not in his prime.
Correct.
First year, 7 sacks in 11 games. Then after that, 13.5, 10, 12, 16, 16, 14, Defensive Player of the Year, 14 this past season on a crap Browns team. He has shown no signs. He's played in these number of games since 2020, 14, 17, 16, 16, 17. Relatively durable. He'll have issues from time to time. Maybe he misses a game or two here or there. But he's shown no signs of slowing down. 14 this past season. First team All-Pro at 28, 29 years old season. He'll be 29 almost all of next season. I'm taking a strong swing at it if I'm the Bills. Now, here's the thing. The Browns have said they don't have any intention of trading him.
Right. That's the other end of this, yeah.
And they are going to have to eat some space, again, to get rid of him because he's not they lose money on the deal if they trade him pre-June 1st. So 2025 dead cap for a pre-June 1st trade. This is according to our buddy Mike Giannetti at Spot Track, who does a fantastic job. Dead cap for the Browns pre-June 1st trade, $36 million. And that seems ridiculous.
It does indeed.
Well, guess what the Bills did this year with Stephon Diggs? How much did they eat? $31 million. It's not out of the realm. They would have to probably rework Deshaun Watson's contract again to make that work for them. Boy, what an anchor that is.
Holy cow.
Their organization is destroyed because of that Deshaun Watson deal. So there's a little bit more savings in terms of if you do it post-June 1st, if you designated a post-June 1st trade, but you don't get that money until after June 1st. It was like how the Bills handled the Trey White situation where they saved, I think it was roughly $10 million, but they didn't see that money until after June 1st.
I remember.
So if the Browns were to trade him after June 1st or give it that designation, they'd eat $14, $15 million dead cap this year, $21 million next year, and save about $5 million this year. So there's some ramifications where they could make it happen. It's, do they want to do it? Are they interested? Do they need to just, if they trade and get 2 first-round picks and a player and whatever else from the Bills for Myles Garrett and a third and a sixth or whatever it is to make it even, does that help them reset what they're trying to do? Because that team is so screwed by Deshaun Watson. They need to, even if they're going to have him on the salary cap, they need to start accumulating picks to get cheap players fast.
Right.
Good, cheap players fast if they have any chance of any time soon getting out of that hell. Because the Watson anchor is just sitting there. For the Bills, all right, we're probably going to be picking 25 or lower again if we follow what we think we are going to, which is making the playoffs and winning a game or two and hopefully getting to the Super Bowl. It's even later.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you value pick 28, 30, 32? Well, last year they valued 28 so much they traded it to the Chiefs and moved down.
Out of the first round.
Exactly. So if you do that for 2 years, would you rather have 2 years of that and Myles Garrett? Right?
Yeah.
I would.
It's a no-brainer. You gotta throw a player in there too, right?
How about this? Do you trade Rousseau in that package going into the 5th-year option year?
I would.
You probably can't sign both to a huge deal.
If you're Cleveland, do you think Cleveland will? I mean, Rousseau, he's young. He has talent.
Yep.
He shows promise here and there. I mean, you do that with some first-round picks, like you said, and yada, 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 other stuff.
You can still bolster
fair
your
deal, but I still think there's so many other teams in front of the Bills that could probably do more. But
I had a discussion on Twitter briefly with our buddy Nate Geary over at WGR, and he was kind of against this deal. And he brought up, well, you sink all that money and then the picks into Garrett with no guarantee at his age that that's going to continue. And then you still have to worry about, you need defensive tackle. You need probably a safety. You probably need a cornerback too. How do you get those? And I think you can get those other places.
And again, they've been operating like this for a while now, where I go back to a year ago with wide receiver. I was in the camp of do whatever you can to get a solid veteran number one wide receiver.
They did do that midseason. Right,
but they didn't do it during the offseason.
And that may have been costly too.
Everybody eats. That whole thing worked out. They were scoring over 30 points a game, but it just never sat right. And I think they paid the price in the AFC Championship game without having a go-to guy. You have that guy who when Von Miller was brought here, it was we want to close out the Chiefs in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. Unfortunately, Von got injured his first year here. We never saw it. It's been not what you expected when they brought him in because of that injury. But I'm sorry, there are no guarantees anywhere. But this guy and his history, just by looking at his history, that would tell you it's worth the risk to do what you have to do to get him in here to get this team to their goal.
I go back to one or two plays. Make a play where the Chiefs don't score on one of those drives. Get off the field, especially when you can't get off the field on third downs anymore, apparently, and third and longs.
Right.
I mean, I know they had a couple of stops. They had the couple of stops to start the third quarter, and then they held them to the late field goal instead of allowing a touchdown that gave the Bills the chance. But what if they don't allow him to go down and score the touchdown before that? What if in the first half they don't allow him to go score a touchdown because Myles Garrett came up with a big sack on third down? How about this? What if a couple of games go a little differently during the regular season because of Myles Garrett, and you get the 1 seed, and that game's at home? Maybe things are different there too. And it still comes down to the fourth quarter, and you got that guy in your back pocket who you hope can go make the play. I saw someone post some video of him giving Patrick Mahomes all kinds of hell when they played this season. He's all over him.
Right.
A ton of pressures.
On the Browns.
Right. So I understand the arguments about costs, about salary cap, about future assets. But to me, just go and go and go. As long as Josh Allen's here, do what you can. Kick the can down the road until he's ready to hang it up or gets hurt or traded because he's old. Because if you're Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, you're probably done then too anyway. Because you don't have that guy anymore.
Time is now to do it.
Yep.
Another big name that's out there now is Cooper Kupp, saying that the Rams have notified him that they're looking to trade him.
He's not happy about it. He thought he'd retire there. He's pissed.
And why? I mean, why not? I don't know. As a wide receiver, I don't think they were with Puka Nacua there now. He's become second fiddle big time, and maybe that's what the Rams are thinking. But if they're going to make a move, he's on the other side of 30, though, Andy.
He's 31 this past season. When does he turn 32?
Super Bowl MVP, right?
He's almost 32 now.
Yeah.
So he'll turn 32 in June. Yeah, I mean, the concern with him is staying healthy. Since he was Offensive Player of the Year in 2021 and Super Bowl MVP that season, right? He has played in 9 games, 12 games, 12 games. So he's breaking down a little bit. And while still a good player, I don't necessarily think, unless you can get him on the cheap, I don't need that guy for the Bills, especially because at his age and his skill set, he's more of a slot player. Well, you have one of the better slots in the NFL already in Shakir. Right. I think the Bills need a strong outside explosive threat, whether that's a number one or just like a deep speed guy, a combination of those things, whatever that is. So Kupp doesn't fit the bill. Now you get him for the right price. He's still a good, useful player. I mean, he had a good game against the Bills.
Right.
So I don't hate that idea, but I'm not giving up a ton of assets for him. And, if it's whatever the pick might be.
I'm in the same, but like you go back a couple of years, it's a different story. But
I mean, you really almost have to go back 3 years because he's been hurt every year since then.
So, and I agree with you on the Khalil Shakir thing. You're getting an aging version of what Khalil Shakir can and become. So,
let's look at his contract real quick before we move on for Kupp. So he has base of 12.5, signing bonus of 4. So his cap hit is $29-30 million. That's a huge cap hit. His dead cap is 22. So they can save some money by trading him, but I don't know that the Bills can take that on.
Right. Nor
should they.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he
as
was,
you said, it doesn't fit the.
If he was released or was a free agent, sure, right, and you can get him for a cheap deal relatively to his skill set, fine. But that's not a trade I'm making if I'm them, because I want fast, explosive, younger at that spot, especially because I think they need a number one still.
Mm-hmm.
Keon Coleman struggled down the stretch. Amari Cooper, I like the player. I like the idea of it. It didn't really fully pan out, and he's a free agent. You're going to have to address wide receiver in one way or another.
Right.
I mean, are you trying to take a big swing to get T. Higgins or somebody like that? I don't think that's the right move either, especially you're not doing it if you're trading for Myles Garrett.
Right.
But that's another concern. I still think biggest needs are number one receiver, defensive line, whether that's edge or D-tackle.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need a cornerback too if Rasul Douglas walks, and you might need some help at safety again if you want to improve on DeMar Hamlin or Taylor Rapp, whatever's going on with Cole Bishop.
I'm with you on that order. I think your order is pretty much right down the line.
And you can get away with, I think they need to reinvest a little bit in defense. Some of that, they lost a lot on defense. I always think offense is a big deal, and I want as many weapons around Josh Allen, if you're a Bills fan, as you can get. But the defense needs some work too. And if you can find your way to a game wrecker, to me, that's the most important thing, because we saw they can get by pretty well with everybody eats and figuring that out.
Right.
So if you can get Myles Garrett, I'd rather have that than T. Higgins.
100%. Let's go to Super Bowl 59, Andy. We're supposed to be doing this podcast down in New Orleans, but we're not. Maybe next year. You have the Chiefs at the next year out in San Francisco. Little debate in the newsroom. Is San Francisco a better trip than going down to New Orleans to cover a Super Bowl? Technically Santa Clara, California.
I've never been to San Francisco, so I'd like to go.
Okay.
And check it out. I've been to New Orleans, and like the French Quarter stuff and Bourbon Street's cool, but like that's it. So
okay.
But it's also warm there. I don't know how warm it is in San Francisco in February.
I guess it's in our I mean,
give me Vegas or Miami.
Vegas would be a blast.
Yeah. I mean, New Orleans would be too, because it's a party.
Well, either way, this game's Down in New Orleans, let's take a look at the game itself. Chiefs, Eagles, Chiefs, -1.5 going into this. I think that's pretty standard for a Super Bowl with two teams going in like this. Obviously, if it was the Commanders and not the Eagles, it'd probably be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think if it was the Bills and the Eagles, it would probably be the same.
That's a fair spread, and to me, I couldn't bet against the Chiefs. As much as you'd want to.
Oh, I want to.
And as much as, I mean, maybe you bet against them because you hedge your bets. Like, all right, Philly wins. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Great. And you win some money. I mean, I don't know. Or maybe you bet with the Chiefs because you think they're going to win, but you're happy if you lose money on that because the Eagles won. Right? If you're an anti-Chiefs person.
You got to think it like the Patriots weren't in position to do 3 in a row, but that would have been 2 in a row, and then they won 2 more right after it. They pulled the upset. It was the Eagles upsetting the Patriots. Totally different team now from back then. Different head coach, different quarterback, everybody.
I just look at it like if it comes down to a close game, which it probably will, who do you trust? Jalen Hurts more or Patrick Mahomes?
Saquon Barkley.
Well, right, but Barkley, like, that won't be a factor that late in the game, I'm telling you. It just isn't ever. Like,
Okay.
They might, like, how about this? Like, I could see the Eagles getting out to a lead. They're up 14-3 or 14-7 or 17-7 at the half, and Barkley looks like he's running wild, and then Mahomes turns it on, and Spags brings the blitz, and Jalen Hurts. Like, Jalen Hurts is fine. He's a very good player. I just, in that late spot, I don't think that the game's over. So then I don't think Saquon Barkley has done enough through the game that it's a blowout, and it's going to come down to Mahomes having the ball and making a play, and that's what always happens.
This would be one of my questions to ask Nick Sirianni from Western New York, head coach of the Eagles, if they watched anything from the Bills constantly running the tush-push against the Chiefs and not gaining anything, because the Eagles leaned on that just as much, if not more, than the Bills. What happens in that scenario? Are you backing off of that? Are you faking something off of it? It's just
they're better at it than the Bills.
Well, I went through Sirianni's first press conference. I didn't hear anything about it, so
the Eagles' defense is way better than the Bills. That's a factor in this game too.
Right.
So I think it'll be close, and I think Mahomes probably makes a play late, and that's what happens.
Over, under 49.
Over.
Yeah. There's going to be points
in
this one.
31-28, something like that.
Easy. Some of the prop bets, Andy.
Although both those teams are good defensively, that's why you would think you'd vote under, but it'll go over.
Well, as my dad says, voting the under is just boring and it sucks. So,
thanks, Bill.
Yeah, Bill. Printable Super Bowl prop bets, Andy. We break these out in the newsroom.
You see how much I care about it. I didn't even remember to bring my version in.
I mean, there's too many on here. Whatever. The over-under on the national anthem is always a big thing. 120.
Who's singing the national anthem this year?
John Batiste.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I don't know most musicians these days. I always take the over on the anthem because there's always a little extra boost.
Yeah.
If you're performing the anthem at the Super Bowl.
How long did they say?
120.5 seconds.
So 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's usually around the 120 area.
Yeah.
I've noticed the last few years. Take the over there. Tails never fails with the coin toss.
That's just a dumb bet to me.
What?
Why would you bet that?
Why not? Tails never fails. You just say it right when the coin's in the air.
But there's no thought to it. It's just like, here's money.
There's no thought to any of this
That's
stuff.
not true. You know that people can at least give the illusion that they can think out some of the point spreads and things like that.
First drive of the game. First play from scrimmage is a rushing attempt. always. Don't do it.
Don't Super Bowls usually start slow, it feels like?
I feel like most Super Bowls, the scoring might pick up at the end of the second quarter.
Yes.
And then they explode in the second half.
Right. Because they're just feeling each other out. It's usually like 7-0 at the end of the first quarter.
The nerve's got to be crazy. I mean, watching the AFC Championship game on TV back here, Josh Allen, to me, looked really nervous.
In the last drive?
No,
the
at
whole
the
game.
start. At the
At
start,
the start, he looked jumpy.
like,
yeah.
Oof. Calm down, dude. But yeah, I mean, you can go through the prop bets on your own. Blah 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 blah. Gatorade, Andy. Blue, green, yellow, clear, orange, purple, or pink.
Red.
It's red. I'm gonna go green, yellow because I'm going with the Eagles.
Okay.
To win this game. Let's do a little 3-0.
Should we actually do a bet on the air?
Like you and I?
Yeah.
What do you want to bet?
I'll bet you a sandwich.
You know, we have the sandwich book of bets out in the newsroom.
I'll bet you a sandwich.
Okay.
Chiefs -1.5.
I'm going to say the Eagles just win outright.
Well, yeah.
So.
Yep. Okay.
All right. You're on.
Look at this. History on the Buffalo End Zone podcast.
Sandwich bet. Love it. 3-0, Andy. Super Bowl plans for this one. Usually I go away for a ski weekend up in New Hampshire. Don't have it in me. My wife has to work. She's unable to go.
No ski trip this year?
It's going to be like single digits and teens on the slopes because it's going to be colder. Like last year, it was close to 40.
Are you going to go out there either way and just not ski, or are you just going to stay home?
I think I'm gonna stay home.
Did you break it to your parents yet?
I did to my brother.
Okay, well, you just broke it to him here because I know.
Well, they'll watch later. I'm gonna call them after the show.
Okay.
A lot of golf trips coming up when it starts getting warmer.
Okay. For me, usually just hang out with the kids and watch it. Maybe we got some neighbor friends. Sometimes they'll come over. Maybe I don't know. I'm a horrible planner, so I don't make big plans to do stuff with friends or go somewhere and watch.
My days of having people over my place have come and gone. I just don't. And I honestly
clean and wear clothes.
You sit around in your boxers and a T-shirt that you can get tomato sauce and all the other garbage on. You're good. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. Buffalo dip, whatever you're eating.
Oh, heck yeah. Swedish meatballs is one of my go-tos. Super Bowl foods, Andy. Pizza's the go-to. Always. Love a good pizza and wings watching football.
Yep. I'm down with that. Like meatball floats, like a hoagie.
All right.
In the crock pot. Those are good.
Nice.
You could do that with the Swedish meatballs.
Or you just go to Wegmans and buy them and just heat them up.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Any kind of snacks, dips, whatever. My kid, my 6-year-old, loves spicy wings. He just crushes chicken wings.
All right.
Like on a Friday night, if we're like, all right, fam, it's Friday night in America. You want to get something out to eat? Pizza and wings, Dad. And he loves it. So, we'll probably do that.
Spicy wings, nice.
True Buffalo kid.
And again, I don't know if I'm lying on purpose, but I feel this way. Like I love watching the Waste Management Open.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this last week. That 16th hole, the par 3, where everyone gets rowdy if you hit a hole in one. Or to me, I'm looking forward to watching that all weekend. And then I'll put the Super Bowl on, and it'll just be there after.
The Chiefs for you, especially because we had this argument all year about, are they reaching Patriots level of annoying as a dynasty?
I think they're there.
They're getting there. They're wearing on people.
I mean, you get a few days after the AFC Championship game, I think someone put on X or whatever, like a 5-minute clip of plays that went against the Bills, like where they spotted the football. And again, I'm not going to get back and rehash all that, but it's just stuff like that. When you see it, it just makes the Chiefs more annoying to me than the Patriots were. The Patriots were annoying because they just won. They cheated with Deflategate. They had Spygate.
There was a lot of stuff going on there.
The Rams claim that they filmed them too back in 2001.
Right.
So they had their issues. Well,
here's the thing with the Patriots, though. They had that early run, and then they started losing. Either they weren't getting to the Super Bowl or they lost to the Giants twice.
Yeah.
Didn't they have like a 10-year period between rings?
Yeah, so let's see.
2004 was the last, and then they didn't win it again till like 2014, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So like other people got in the mix there. The Patriots were annoying because they were good in the AFC East, and they were always relevant for 20 years.
I mean, they were always in the AFC Championship game.
But then they had that stretch where they would lose it.
Right. Or you had Peyton Manning, who could never beat the Patriots. Finally broke through. Then when Manning's with the Broncos, the Patriots couldn't get past them.
Right.
That would just spell the end of the season,
right.
And that would be an AFC Championship game.
Yeah, so it lasted for so long with the Patriots. That was annoying. But, like, the current state of affairs of the Chiefs is pretty annoying, too.
Well, and the fact that
no one's really beaten
Mahomes in every commercial. Andy Reid's in every commercial. Like, you can't get away.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
The Grammys the other night, it's, we see Taylor Swift wore red because Travis is headed to the Super Bowl.
Did you see the little adornment she had on her upper thigh with a T hanging off it?
I did.
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
Come on.
I watched Entertainment Tonight.
Was that for Taylor or Travis? Or both?
Or both. One.
Aww.
I was going to ask what you're watching, but I don't even know what I'm watching.
I finished Squid Game 2.
Oh.
I binge watched it one night and finished like the last 3 episodes. It's only 7 episodes this season. It was 9 the first season.
How long is each episode?
Like an hour.
Okay.
And it's a cliffhanger. Ended season 2 on a cliffhanger.
Okay. You brought this up last week. I just keep forgetting about it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I'm trying to think. You
were talking about Saturday Night or whatever that show was.
I talked about that. Did I talk about Knock at the Cabin Door?
What are you watching?
This was a major, like, Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan, twist at the end. Oh, my God. And then, M. Night Shyamalan had The Village, which I thought was good, another little twist ending. And then all of his other stuff basically stunk to me. And I see online one day, M. Night Shyamalan's back with Knock at the Cabin Door. And then you read the little caption. It's about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse showing up. Okay, I'm into the apocalypse. I'm into that kind of stuff. All right. Best movies made since blah, blah, blah. I put it on. I could not have been more disappointed.
Night.
I don't.
Down in the K-Man's book.
The twist ending left me sitting there like, all right, I get it. And it was more gory than interesting to follow.
Like less suspenseful, more gory.
Yeah, which I'm not a fan of.
Correct.
Less gory, more suspenseful for me.
Yeah.
So I don't come in as we wrap up here with something positive to watch, except for the Waste Management Open, which caused a stir last year.
You going to do some waste management this weekend?
You bet I am.
Big Super Bowl food weekend.
All right, Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Chiefs, Eagles, then we can move on to the offseason in the rebuild or the build for the 2025 season.
Yeah, both of us have some time off coming up here in the next few weeks, so maybe a little intermittent as to far as when this podcast is on, but of course, we're talking about the combine, free agency in a couple of weeks, all that stuff. We'll be cooking. We'll have some guests on. I'm sure we'll bring on like draft guests, free agency, salary cap guys, all that good stuff, and we'll kind of get you prepared, locked and loaded for free agency and the draft.
All right. See you in a few weeks, everybody.
Maybe sooner if you see Myles Garrett in Buffalo.
That too.